Hello everybody, Intervision Host 7 here, back with another YouTube video. So here you might notice is a Mini Masters, which a lot of stuff I've been doing recently has been. Occasionally I'm just going to do different things. I like this game a lot. This game came out a while ago in the community that was there. It's kind of no longer around really. There's kind of like a modding community and stuff, but there's like campaigns in this stuff. So all I'm really going to do, because this game is very pleasing like to the eye, it's like graphically really friendly and stuff. I'm just gonna kind of just do like a random battle against the AI, because I don't know if their servers work anymore, but PvP was never really that fun in this anyways, so that's a thing. And there's a bunch of stuff here I can explain, but I don't think it's necessarily worth my time to do this. I might just occasionally throw one of these up just because, it's kind of fun to do on every now and then. But basically the gist of this game is you have a fleet of giant ships and your opponents do, and you want to try to blow up all their ships and not have all your ships blow up. And ships also have morale and stuff. So there's like two ways you can deal with your opponent's ships. You can basically kill all the troops on it and then make it a drifting hulk, and then your opponents can repopulate it, but there won't be any they'll only repopulate like one troop, or you can completely blow up the ship. So some factions kind of specialize, like Tyranids here, they specialize in eating all the troops and the ships specifically. Huh, that's weird. Okay, anyways. So they like specialize in like eating the ships, like they'll run into the ships, eat the health off the ships, or eat all the troops on them. That's kind of like Tyranids, so I can kind of just go over. So people who aren't familiar with what this game's set, and it's based on Warhammer 40k. That's not super popular, but I like it. So basically, we'll just kind of go over kind of just like a quick glance. So Imperial Navy is basically the Imperium of Man. There's a big story behind all this stuff. Basically, the Imperial Navy, and there's two subdivisions of it. The Imperial Navy itself is just the backbone of the Empire's army. They've got a lot of, as far as this game's concerned, like decently armored ships that they're pretty effective for medium range, and they're just the well-rounded faction. So that's kind of like the Imperial Navy in a nutshell. Adapted Stratus, so they're Imperial Navy sub-faction where they're all like android type people, or like half mechanical, where they've replaced part of their bodies with machines. And they more specialize at longer range ships, or their ships all have like a little bit lower morale and stuff. But they're also functionally the same. But they have a lot of like Nova cannons and stuff, and that gives them some really long range gameplay. Or this one's Adaptus Mechanicus, my bad. So these are the ones where they kind of like specialize in like long range combat a little bit more than what the Imperial Navy does, but they can also do alright. And then the Adapted Stratus, these guys are also really bad at boarding, where these guys aren't great, but they can do it. And then the Adaptus, that's Darius or whatever, basically the Marines here. So basically they're for your 40k, like if you ever seen anything with your 40k, or your super marines, or they're basically all super soldiers. But basically, this faction specializes on ships with like heavy armor, like kind of similar range, but they're like all their ships have a lot of heavy armor, and they don't rout, so they're really hard to kill all their ships. They usually have fewer numbers, but their ships are also good since you got freaking space marines and power armor shoots and super soldiers. They're really good at killing all of the troops on the opponent's ships, so that's kind of their specialty. So it's a different flavor of each empire, like these two sub-factions. So Chaos is the main baddies here. They've got a bunch of different sub-factions here. They got all kinds of weird art stuff. Yeah. But basically Chaos as a whole, so there's 4 Chaos Gods, and they each have like a little faction here represented. Like Death Guard is Norgol. The Emperor's Children is Slaanesh. Thousand Sons is Tez. I can't remember his name right now. And the World Breakers I know is Korn. There's another one left where it's like the Wisdom guy, but I can't. Let me see. Thousand Sons. Well, Winds of Change. Okay, right there, that guy. Tezeth, or however you say that, that's the other Chaos God there. But basically, like Korn's like the Blood God, the Emperor's Children, or Slaanesh is like the God of Pleasures. Nurgle is like the God of like rot and decay, or kind of. And this guy here is like the God of like knowledge and stuff and change. That's kind of like the general. Just but basically Chaos was, so the Imperial Navy and Chaos were once, like, the Imperium of Man was just, about pretty much completely controlled the galaxy. But at one point in time, Chaos, like, there's some severance, basically, so Chaos was like they split off. They're a splinter faction, and like literally half the Imperium of Man broke off. And there's this interesting thing in this game called the Warp, where basically these monsters and stuff come out of. I don't know why it keeps come out of, and basically all their ships now are older ships from before. Like all the Imperium ships now are like newer ships. Like all these ships are like ancient ships. They got some really cool stuff in this faction, as far as like Titans go and stuff. But I'll get to that. Basically, Titans like your biggest class or your biggest ships in general. So these three factions kind of fall together and all the same. They're basically your space elves, but the elves in this game, basically they had worlds, but like all their worlds were destroyed by the Tyranids or something like that. And basically they live in these things called craft war now, where it's literally a giant aircraft that is big enough for a whole race to live on. Like, so basically I've got the Asani here, or basically this is just like if these are, if you're thinking of elves, like high elves, dark elves, pirate elves, kind of. So basically each of these little factions here is a craft world where there's the giant, like this whole race here on the, if there's any of these I can actually say, like the, whatever, however these are pronounced, it's just a giant spaceship where the whole race lives on this. This whole faction of people here live on this, and all the little, and basically this okay, so that's just kind of that tidbit. So that's like what these guys are craft world ones. The other ones aren't quite craft worlds. That's a little bit different. So each of these are giant spaceships that hold the whole race on. Each one of these, and these are like the factions you fight are like the defense force of them. The thing that's kind of special about these guys is they don't. So like all these, every other faction's got like standard shields for the most part, but these guys have basically they're like. So out of these three factions, these ones are the heaviest armored of them, but they still are like their ships in general are kind of like hit and run. Like they move, they have special like. They're supposed to be advanced technology, so they can like maneuver real fast and do hit and run nicely. These ones can do a little bit better, but basically as they move, they get these little things called holo fields, and holo fields even. So there's like two types of weapons. There's like ones that are 100% accurate, where they're just lasers, or there's ones that are like battery, where they shoot, and the further away, the less accurate they are. So it even screws with the accuracy of the battery weapons, or can completely block laser shots. And while they keep moving, so like basically the holo field fields up, and once it's all the way active, it can block some damage and stuff. So some of the ships they have, like they can kind of move, like they can kind of. So basically, you got two types of ways ships usually fire. Even some ships fire facing directly head on, going this way, and some ships fire by doing broadside or going this way and shooting that way. So they have some ships here where they can go this way and fire. And keep moving while firing, so that's what's nice. But a lot of their ships also, but they also have ships that like to fire straight on. They'll do a lot more damage that way, but they also are a lot more vulnerable. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. So like all three of these faction ships are some of the more not as durable ships in the game, but out of these three, these ones are the more armored. So we go here, Corsair. So these are basically your elf pirates. Or basically people who left the craft worlds and they're just kind of together. They've got like some like headquarters, like little headquarters stations and stuff. But they're just out there, for plunder and stuff. Because, pirates in space, there's also pirates in the sea. It's kind of a similar concept. So basically these guys' ships, they're like the extreme glass cannon ships. Maybe a little bit more than a Drukhari, because the Drukhari are kind of special. But the Corsairs, like the ships themselves, they cannot take anything. I think I can kind of maybe show. So this is just kind of signing some traits here. So like if I pick this ship here, they basically have a special faction traits. Oh, their ships are also start out as stealth, which is kind of an important thing to note. So yeah, they have this fragile trait here, which means the probability the ship suffers critical effects is increased by 50. So basically critical effects, like every time you get hit, there's a chance a critical effect happens where basically something becomes damaged and you can repair it. And while it's damaged, you don't get the functions of it, like kind of. I mean, I'm not going to go super deep in that, but basically it's bad. In addition, the ship suffers 50% damage from ramming. So that critical affects real bad, and then if it gets rammed, the ship takes 50% more damage. So they're not real durable. They got a bigger ship here. But yeah, so that's kind of the Corsairs. They're just lower armor, a little bit more fragile, but they also do, their ships also have, more hitting power and stuff. And then we got the Drukhari here. So Drukhari's hollow fields are different from these ones. These Corsairs start out stealth, but they can never, once they're revealed, they can only ever re-enter stealth once they're, like they have to enter like a gas cloud or something to be re-stealth. So that's kind of something to note. They start out stealth, so that's kind of like how their ships are a little more vulnerable, because they can just ambush you because you don't see them coming on your radars. These ones are similar, but their special stealth thing is so basically their hollow field is a little bit different, where it's just if they're moving, they become stealth while moving. So basically they can shoot, but basically these guys are like super master ambushers and stuff. Their ships are more vulnerable than these ones, because on top of the low armor, they actually don't even have the hollow fields to help negate damage, because they, every hit they take, they don't have anything that can help them block it or anything. So that the Drukhari are easily probably the squishiest ships. Sometimes the Corsairs are, it depends, because they do have that stealth thing there, so they can do it even better than Corsairs. But then that's just kind of their flavor. The thing they have the most note of all the elves is these ones are the best at troop killing, kind of like how the Space Marines are best at killing, at the enemy troops on their ships or boarding. Out of these three Imperium factions, these guys are the best out of these three elf factions. So yeah, that's kind of note. And also the normal or like your high elves aren't bad at boarding either, but these guys like specialize in it. That's kind of another thing they have. So orcs here. So space orcs, all their ships are short range. They usually have a lot of health for their ships. So basically their ships are cheap, short range, and they're pretty durable for the most part. So it makes them kind of annoying to deal with. Now the downside to this is their leadership or organization. They're not real organized because they've got orc pirates here and they got a couple different factions. But their ships are literally just like parts of like asteroids that are just shit slapped together and has rockets, and somehow it functions as a ship for the orcs to try to board you and kill people and stuff. And yeah, basically the closer the orcs are, the better, and the further away the orcs are, the sadder they are. So the big thing with them is you just try to keep their distance and shoot them down. Like Chaos is usually a really hard matchup for orcs, because Chaos is so like Chaos in general's playstyle is like a long range. They're kind of similar to the Imperial Navy, where their ships are like overall medium durability, but they're more longer range focused, so they're just a little bit less durable than them, but they have a lot longer range. So basically this thing, Chaos, they'll just sit on the outside and just cheat, slowly whittle you down with 100% accurate lasers, and it turns out that can be annoying to deal with. So orcs here, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that Chaos is kind of makes orcs have a bad time, because they just sit outside. Now orcs can, close the gap usually, but their ships are fast too. Like Chaos ships are faster than all these, but these ships are easily the fastest. And speed's important in this game, so that's the thing to note. Like all those elf ships are the fastest. So yeah, that's kind of orcs. Orcs are also just generically alright at boarding. Like you can do boarding specific things with like these little skills here to help do different things. So you can take ones to help you board. So that's orcs. Their ships are also really funny. They got some funny names for them. So Necrons. So okay, so this is another faction where they don't have shields, but their ships have high armor, like really high armor, like the Space Marine ships do, and they also, just pick one of these, and that's kind of what Necrons look like. And they slowly regenerate health as they take damage, so their ships like self-repair themselves. So basically, their ships are all really tough for the most part, unless you're using like armor-piercing stuff. Even then, it's still hard to kill them, because they all have high health for their tier, and their ships are also expensive, so they got like super heavy armor, repair themselves, so they're usually pretty hard to bring down. They also are a faction, they're better than I would say that the orcs at boarding, because they got some cool stuff for it. So they're not bad at it. And their ships, I believe all of their weapons are 100% accurate for the most part, so basically they can put the paint on like your orcs, or like these the space elves here can have a real bad time, especially like the Drukhari can have a really bad time against Necrons, because the 100% accuracy weapons on everything is just so brutal against these ships that are just so vulnerable to it. So that's just kind of a thing to note. And Tyranids here, I kind of talked about them a little bit, but basically their ships are comparative to the other ones. They're a little bit less like hull points and stuff, so they have a little bit less health overall. But they're usually cheaper, so they can usually kind of swarm a little bit more. But their ships also, you know, they're the best faction and not so much. So basically, like, these guys are good at boarding and killing the enemy ship, but they're also good at inflicting like critical damage to where they'll kill all the troops eventually, but they also will fuck up a lot of shit on the ship and break it while the guys are there. While they're on the enemy ship and they're there while the ship's trying to defend itself, with their own troops. Basically, they'll, destroy the control rooms and stuff. Where the Tyranids' only objective is just to eat everyone on that ship. They're not gonna, so their chances to like actually fuck shit up on the ship and break it isn't so high. They're just there to eat everyone. So that's kind of the different flavor of the Tyranids versus like the Drukhari, who are there to, fuck up your ship and kill people and take slaves. So that's kind of something to note with the Tyranids. The Tyranids are the best at, killing troops on any ship, though. So that's just one thing to note. And yeah, they like to get close and they'll eat your ships. The Tyranids versus Orcs is always kind of funny. Sometimes the Orcs are just too tanky for the Tyranids, and since the Tyranids are a little bit squishier, they kind of just get pooped on. So we got the Tau here. So the Tau are split into two factions. We can just kind of see what they look like. They're kind of like your, I don't know, space blue people. They're basically your space communists because they believe in this. They basically want to shove this philosophy of they're doing everything for the greater good down everyone's floats, and if you're not doing something for the greater good, fuck you. So, and what the greater good is exactly, well, no one knows. So that's kind of, space communism. That's always fun. They're also the only factions that. So basically, a thing in this lore here is all of these factions are xenophobic. Like the Empyreans are super xenophobic, so that any race that isn't humans, they basically, their solution is kill it with fire. That's the only way they approach things. Chaos, everyone just hates chaos. Chaos is there to literally cause chaos, and everyone, they're everyone's enemies. They're always here to fuck up shit. The elves, sometimes the space elves and the humans can get along, but that's really rare occasions. Like none of these factions are friendly with each other for the most part. And like the Tau and the Imperial navies had to work together before, like, and there's certain scenarios like, oh, there's a giant Tyranid fleet that's going to kill everyone, we need to band together and kill it, or we're going to die, unless it's like that, for the most part, everyone, they hate everyone. But the Tau are kind of unique where they actually have some like mercenary, like special ships from different races, like versus like your Tau style ship. So I'm just going to kind of show you real quick. So basically so like this is a Tau ship. These all look kind of similar. I can do a ship viewer here. So this is like your Tau. Well, I will explain like what each faction is. They're like the two sub factions. This is like a Tau tiles. It's like style type, like how they have their ship design and stuff. But if we go there, that one's a lot different. But this is a different race's ship. Like they're like a mining type. Well, these ships are for like mining asteroids, but they also are armed to kill things. And that's like another Tau style ship. All that, and then you've got this one's a little bit different, but this is whatever Nesakar is. That's like a race in this game, but basically that's the thing that's kind of unique about the Taus. They've they've let other races participate. Whether they pay them or whatever. Basically, they have some agreement to where these guys will do things. That back there is a giant Tau like trade world or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what that is actually, but it's something. That's not a ship in the game though. That's way too big for that. That's kind of like comparable, like the size of a craft worlds, which I can actually show real quick. So there's one thing to note about these mercenary ships is they okay, so they have independent. So basically they're not organized, or they're independent from the other ones. They've changed some things. There should be a trait here somewhere. Mercenaries. So basically, if the ship's morale value is reduced to 0, the ship will just flee. So there's kind of a different thing where so basically if another ship's if a Tau ship's morale goes to 0, like say this runs out of morale because it's got bravery -25, so they're basically this is just kind of like flavor of like how organized the race is, or how disciplined they all are under the leadership. But say this ship starts to retreat, you can execute the captain basically and take back over the ship. And that's kind of how that's flavored. You'll lose a troop step, or basically the idea is basically the people there overthrow all the people who are trying to disobey and kill them. So you can do that a couple times as long as there's still a troop casualty step. So basically there's 3 types. So like your troops, so it shows troop number here is 4. So basically, there's 3 troop steps, and every time it loses 4 troops, it goes down a step. And while it's down a step, it gets some debuffs and stuff, like there's less people to arm everything on this, or Tau in this case. But once it gets to the last step before it goes to 0, you can no longer execute. So if your ship flees, then you can't get it back. Basically, it will flee until it goes off the map. But the thing that's with the mercenaries is once their morale hits 0, even if they have all of the troops on there, they will keep fleeing. And the only way you can get them back is your flagship will have this special ability called Rally, where your flagship has to come up to it, rally them to come back. So that's the only way that happens. They also have you'll get an ability where you can, like, I'll kind of explain a little bit. I said I wasn't explaining a lot about the game, but here I am, so oh well. So that's like the special thing about the Tau. They have this, their bigger ships are kind of cooler. Okay, so that was super close. This is kind of cool. This thing's called a Crew War Spear. It's, I don't know why it's zoomed in so close, but okay. It won't let me zoom out more. But this thing's kind of got this unique thing where, it's got superconducting engines, so basically it moves slow, but it can move, it doesn't change the way it faces because it's got, if you see here, it's got engines all over the place. But it's also got this, immune to criticals, which is a really powerful ability. Basically the hull or the engines can never be destroyed on this thing based on kind of like its unique design and how it works, and that's a really powerful thing. And this thing is, actually for the Tau, this is one of their tankier units, even though the morale's vulnerable on it. But here, 8 armor is the highest, so basically this damage is reduced by 85, that's the highest. So basically there's heavy, medium, and low. So heavy reduces damage by 85%, medium reduces damage by like 66, and low reduces damage by half. The difference between 50 and 85% damage reduction is a lot. Like 50%, you double your health, essentially. So if you have 1,000 health, you end up having 2,000 health. So if you have like 85% damage reduction, at 80% you multiply that by 5. So your 1,000 health is effectively 5,000. So you can kind of see the big difference there. I don't quite remember exactly what. Like 80% is easy enough to tell you like how much it goes. And if you go up to 90% damage reduction, you effectively multiply your health by 10. So if you have 1,000 health, you effectively have 10,000 health. So that's kind of a thing to note. The higher this percentage is on your damage reduction, this applies to like things in general. The more like it's like you would think from like 85 to 90 isn't a big deal, but it is. It matters a lot. So that's just kind of something. They also have shields and stuff. So basically, the difference between these two Tau, so there's Tau Protector Fleet. So this is actually the Tau military, where these ships, the Tau in general will basically kind of sit back and they have longer range, but they also have this thing where they have lots of ships. Like they're kind of just they're able to output a lot of ships because they have certain ships that automatically come with like little escort ships, just like attached to that ship for picking it, that you start each battle with. So like the merchant fleet is basically they have a fleet where that's supposed to go around trading, but the merchant fleet's also equipped to murder things because the Tau are kind of, they show up and they quote unquote trade with you by forcing you to, if you don't trade with us, we'll kill you, quote unquote, but they do that so it doesn't, make things look real bad to like some of the races they want to stay friendly with and stuff. So that's why. And also there's pirates that will kind of go up and steal their goods and stuff, so they gotta be able, the merchant ships are able to defend themselves nicely. And the protector fleet's there for like, if Tyranids are coming, they're gonna send the protector fleet, not the merchant fleet to deal with it. Because these ships were built more for direct combat. And basically these ships they like to sit back at long range and they just shoot. And they've got high numbers. That's kind of different. Basically the merchant fleet ships, so if I can just go here and look again. Basically this ship, so it's got this special thing where it's got heavy armor in the front as long as the generator is active, so you can you can damage the generator on this and they'll lose heavy front armor, but basically they like to sit facing forward because they've got kind of unique guns where they can broadside, or like half their guns, so like if you're facing this way, it can shoot 90% this way, so it can shoot forward, but it can never shoot this way. And that's the same way on that side. So if you're facing that, all their guns can go forward and shoot exactly forward, and that's where they get their most damage. So they like to sit there like this, and just kind of be like a station and just output a lot of lasers that way. Where they can broadside, but they're only firing half their things. To where like your chaos ships, they can only ever fire from half because there's no weapons directly in the front. The weapons are all on the side like this. They can't fire forward. So that's kind of a unique thing about like the Tau protector ships. And then if you go here and look at the tile merchants, basically their ships. So if you looked at the other ones, you'd see that like a lot different. They're a lot longer, like for trading and stuff. They can put a lot more cargo in. Their weapons are similar, but basically I can kind of explain what I'm talking about here. So this thing's got double barrel railgun, or double barrel super heavy railguns. Basically these can fire anywhere in this radius here. So this Gravica Hook Orca, basically whenever, if you pick this ship, you get 3 like Orca escorts, or just little ships there for like scouting for the most part. They are armed and stuff, but they usually don't survive fights. This thing's got launch bays. Launch bays are basically, it's like a whole mechanic where you can, little squadrons come out and they can even send bombers out to try to bomb the other ships. There's fighters where basically they just intercept the bombers and other interceptors. So basically whichever interceptor, like each faction's interceptors may have like a little bit better stats, like certain ones are better, but that's real minor. For the most part, your interceptors are going to do your jobs. Your bombers are going to bomb ships. They ignore some of the armor, so they do pretty decent. They'll bomb it, deal some decent damage, and then they fly back. And if they don't die, then you have them to use again. So like this ship like is a forward firing ship. So the thing that's unique about the merchant ship, where it can do broadside, this one can't do broadside as nicely because it's only got these 3 weapons here that can fire from each 90-degree angle on the side. Where this one's got these, it's got a bunch of weapons here in the front, all these rail guns, but they can only fire in the 90 degrees in front of it, so it can't broadside. So this ship's only going to ever sit there and fire from the front. And this is kind of a thing to note about the armor. So you got your front armor is like your front here. So basically this radius here in the front here, where it's kind of showing from, basically it will take 67% less damage there. Or on the sides where you have that, basically that's your sides and your front combined. So basically if it gets hit from anywhere in there, the damage is reduced by that much. But the thing that's interesting about the tile merchant ships is the engines back here. I don't know why the zoom's a little funky, but these engines back here actually have low armor, so if they get shot in the rear, they're actually vulnerable. So that's something to kind of note. So that's kind of like just a little breakdown of your faction. I'm just going to do one fight here. I kind of wanted to... what are we... Okay, well, whatever. A lot of the time explaining stuff is in. So, the best faction I like is Chaos. Chaos is really fun. So we're going to do the Death Guard here, or basically Nurgle's faction. So, like, the kind of unique thing about these ships is they, like, each of these, like the Emperor's Children, that their ships get kind of cool models. They get special abilities here. So basically, I will select my fleet. So I've already got a fleet put together. So I'll just kind of explain like what this does. So I'm just going to look at this real quick. So this is like massive battle. So basically, there's going to be a lot of ships here. So this is my fleet picked here. So this is my flagship, or basically my ship that's in charge. If this ship dies, I get a big morale penalty and on everything, and I can't rally ships back. But this is, I might not. Okay, well this thing's basically huge. I'll be able to show it better not in that because the ship viewer is kind of buggy for some reason. But basically the Blackstone Fortress is the flagship here, or the type of ship this is. So this thing's unique is it's immune to criticals, and it's got really heavy armor, and it's got 3,200 hull points, and that's a lot of hull points, and it's got a really powerful shield. This is Titan class. This is the biggest. These are the biggest. So all these here are Titans. These are the biggest hitting ships there are. If you notice, Chaos actually has 4 of them. They got a lot of Titans. Usually most factions might. Not even all factions have Titans, and if they do, they might only have 1 or 2. You can kind of see cost here. So this costs 750 of my 400 resources. And this costs 800, so you can see that these ships are expensive. So basically, Blackstone Fortress, it only has 1 weapon. So this thing is vulnerable. It's like a weakness to it's vulnerable to like carrier ships that have these like bomber squadrons. So a bunch of bomber squadrons come up to it and just bombard it. And this thing has a lot of like turrets and stuff, so it will kill a couple of them. The problem is it doesn't have any like flight decks or anything to have it doesn't have these launch bays here to have, you know, squadrons to fly back into it to fight back the enemy squadron. So that's something you gotta know. It is vulnerable to getting bombarded and stuff like from that. So you gotta, because this thing's weapon, it's just got a defense turret, but this thing's weapon's way overkill to kill these little tiny squadrons. So you need like ships. You need to like try to keep a ship near it that's got squadrons to try to defend it from that. So that's like only its notable weakness. But this thing is It's super tanky for having a lot of armor it has. It doesn't rout. It's got 100% bravery, so basically it never... Bravery, this modifier suffers how much morale damage it takes. So if it's got like 75% bravery, so basically if it takes 100 morale damage, it only takes 25. That's kind of how that works. So if it's at 100%, it's immune to morale damage. And if it's at negative 100, it basically takes double morale damage, or it will rout really fucking fast. It's got this special thing called Gigantic. It's got increased sensor range, just kind of, you know, but it's got one weapon here. And, you know, it's a lot of these ships, like if I pick this one, Montserrat's Redeemer or whatever, this Titan, it's got a bunch of different kinds of weapons. There's got like missiles, it's got all these super heavy lance artillery, lances, lasers basically. It's got these launch bays and all these plasma macro batteries. So it's got like all these weapons here, where this thing only has one weapon. And this thing's weapon's really cool. Basically it fires it's called a warp cannon. It fires a giant purple laser that will just completely, in like 3 laser shots will pretty much kill like any of these ships here. Like so there's like escorts, light cruiser, cruiser, battle cruiser, grand cruiser, battleship, and then Titan. So like a battleship, it will probably take a good maybe 5. It depends on what type of battleship it's hitting to, but just like in general, it will take maybe a good like 5 or so laser shots to actually bring down a battleship, and that's actually extremely like deadly. Like it can kill a battleship in that many hits. But basically this thing is, so it attacks once. It has a range of 2,250 units, and that's the highest range, and it's 100% accurate, so that's absurdly long. So this thing will sit back in your fleet and just, you know, get value by just completely incinerating things from very far away. It does 800 damage in one attack, and 800 damage is a lot. Needless to say, it's got a reload time of 20 seconds. So it only fires just every 20 seconds. It's got a critical chance of 200%. So basically every time it hits the ship, it will automatically destroy 2, like even the engines. And so you've got like engines, certain weapons, like generator for like your shield. It will automatically break 2 of those anytime it actually hits something. And it's got precise, so this weapon's 100% accurate no matter what. It ignores the target's armor by 25%. So basically, like if the ship has 50% armor, this will do, you know, it will do 75% of the actual damage it does to that ship, and that's insane. And it pierces hollow fields, so basically hollow fields are just really sad. This thing is super brutal against elf factions and just in general because their hollow fields cannot save them from this. So yeah, that's it. So we got another Titan here. This Titan's kind of the black, mostly to protect this Blackstone Fortress, which is my flagship. There's more Kron's Redeemer, so this thing's got heavy armor. It's really hard to... It's got a bravery of 75%, which is a unique thing for Chaos kind of in general. Then basically this thing is just a big tank ship. It's got high armor. It's got 4,080 hull points. It's got heavy armor. It's got high shields. It's got decent launch bays, and then it's got a bunch of these 100% accurate cannons, which can fire 90% in the front, it looks like just. And then it's got a bunch of battery weapons on the side. So it's just a solid, really big ship that gets in there, and it's hard to kill, and will do the job for you. Then we got some despoilers. So there's these flagship here. This is a flagship that's got launch bays. Basically, I have these just to provide squadrons because I need those. And they're just some Hellfires. These are just your... I think these units are just... They're just generic long-range good Chaos units. They have a bunch of weapons from long range, and they're Grand Cruisers. They've got, you know, 600 shield, 2,000 hull points. There's that. You got these Hellcrates, or Hellcrate. So it's another like carrier type shit, or ship. It's got some launch bays and just some mix of weapons. There's different kinds of weapons and stuff. I don't need to explain all that though. And then the rest of these ships are just, you know, like smaller tier ships that help. You know, they got some weapons. The biggest thing is just looking at, so these ones, it's got some closer range ones, so these ones will, whenever I put them kind of on the auto aim, because it's really hard to control these ships at once, they will move a little bit closer and usually probably get, you know, picked off, but that's okay because they're not that expensive. And then I've got these Hellbringers, or these light cruisers. The thing that's unique about light cruisers and escorts is they can go into stealth. That's like a special stance they have, running silent, where they're just stealth. Where these bigger ships can't do that. And yeah, basically these just some weapons. It's your cheapest ship, so it's got a little bit of weapons there and some stuff. Your escorts are nice because they have these sensors, or the scanner ability. So basically it will reveal ships, because shields will be identified, but they won't be visible until you scan them. So having a couple escort ships are nice. They're just there. You kind of put them somewhere, let them run silent, and you know, once the fight breaks out and they do their scouting job, then they're done. So that's kind of this in general. So I'm just going to launch this. So I'm just going to do random. Or we can do Imperial Navy and allow Titans. Because that's kind of like the thing, you know, Chaos versus Imperial Navy is like the big thing in this. So the enemies might have some Titans, and we'll have some big ships killing each other, and that's fun. And we could lose. Sometimes the AI runs like 4 or 5 Titans in it. So this is my flagship here. It's kind of still a little big for the screen. But it's basically a giant like obsidian black yeah, space station basically is what it looks like. But those 4 cannons there, so these 4 cannons are actually its weapon. And then you notice all these ships look kind of, oh, so I didn't pick abilities here. There, so I'm just going to do warp jump and void shield. I'm not going to, I can explain what these do, but it's not super necessary. So that just increases my range so I can see more. Macro weapons. This vessel isn't super necessary. I can go Warforge, that's kind of fun. So basically these 2 abilities will help this. So this ability here will help this maneuver because this thing moves really slow. This is one of the slowest ships in the game, unfortunately. And then this, basically, it overcharges the shield, so it makes it a little bit harder to kill. And I don't want it to die. You know, the longer it's alive, it's better. So basically this is my my second in command ship, kind of, or basically my ship that's going to be protecting my big fortress over there. It's a lot bigger than the other ones. It's got some cool weapons and stuff. This one's actually, this ship's here is probably harder to bring down than this one, but that's just kind of how it goes. This one's got more armor on it, or just more hull points. So basically, how I'm going to do this, it's going to take a second here. So I like to bunch all the escorts up, so I'm going to make them group 5, and now they're all together. And I'm just going to put them on running silent. I'm just going to kind of explain a little bit what I'm going to be doing. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening, and the visuals of this game is the biggest reason why I'm going to do this. And I might occasionally upload one of these because I like the game and I think it looks cool. I like playing, I like just doing this occasionally just because, why not? And I figured, if someone wants to watch it, why not? So I'm just going to put this here. So this is kind of just like my group. Got some battleships, you know, different ship hitting sizes of ships there. So I'm going to make my commands basically group 1, or what I'm going to be like my main focus. I want to move my escorts. I'm just going to move them there temporary. So kind of the idea that makes this easier for me. That will be 2. So I got 1, 2, make that 3. And we'll make 5, 4, because I don't know, there's a bunch of ships. 1. Oh, oops. So this should be 3. Alright, so I got 4 groups here. So my main group, so I do this, so it makes it easier to navigate these. So basically my main group here is just gonna be, so this is gonna be my main focus, like it's heart of my army here. So basically this thing's job is to try to defend this thing from getting overwhelmed. And then this thing will just sit back kind of far and do a bunch of damage. So I'm going to put these guys, so there's 3 stances you pick here. You always want to pick a stance, because otherwise you're just wasting if you're not. Don't put this on reload, because this thing with reload is disgusting, because it fires its weapon. So yeah, standard weapon fire rate increases by 40%. Its range is already absurdly long, so yeah, just making its rate of fire that much faster is nice. And then this thing being a little bit closer isn't that big of a deal, because you can do locked on where the ships will sit further back and be more accurate. But reload is fine with that, because I want to, if it's a little closer to enemies, it's got it by far has enough armor and hull points where it's not going to be that big of a deal. So so my other 2, so basically my left flank here, I'm going to make these guys on reload. So basically they're going to sit back a little bit further and try to draw the enemy out and make them chaos, disorganized. It's kind of the idea with chaos. We got locked on, so I'm going to put that on my other flank. The difference between right and left isn't much. They're just kind of similarly balanced. So that's just kind of the idea. I want a little bit of carriers in both of them. And then I've got my main group. I've got carriers here. And I mostly just want this to be near that. And then my escorts, I'm going to put way on a flank over here. And basically, these are all going to be invisible. So my opponent won't be able to detect them until radar comes up. So it does look like my opponent has 1 escort, because I've got a bravery penalty here. And that's something special that Titans have. They've got this terrifying trait that all ships on the battlefield, as long as this ship's on a battlefield, the enemy suffers a -10 bravery bonus. So that just stacks for each one. So I've got 2 of these. So basically, my opponent's going to be, so his ships are going to rout easier because, it turns out these ships are fucking terrifying because they're huge. So that's kind of like you can see there. That's just a little random tidbit. Alright, so I've got these on reload. or no, these on reload. I want these on locked on, and then these on silent running. So we're ready to go. So it looks like we're going to be able to see our opponent's Titan ship because it just revealed off that. So it looks like he's got McCragg's Honor. So McCragg's Honor here is really similar to Morgron's Redeemer. In fact, actually, this is the Chaos version of that ship. So I'm just going to give these guys an order to go forward. Move these guys up. Move these guys up. And then I'll move these scout ships up here. I could like move one of these on the other flank, but it's not super necessary. So you do have... so these guys have remove abilities where I can like move these go faster, but they'll be revealed, so I don't need to do that. So as you can see here, you got your radars detecting. So there's some even missiles or so there's missiles coming in there and stuff, and that's bad. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to send these out to intercept these. So what these do, these are the fighter squadrons, and basically they'll come up and fight their, they'll intercept these things so I don't get hit by these missiles and whatnot, which is bad. Yeah, so we'll just send it out. AI likes to send all kinds of stuff at you early. So I've got missiles here, and I can just fire these. So I'll do that, and then these torpedoes will come out, and they'll just fire in a straight line, and they'll probably die to interceptors. So here you got these squadrons fighting each other. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I've got enough squadrons doing anything, so these guys are all going to get on here and fight. Looks like they were, oh no, they're going to go over there and fight the squadrons now, but I'm way outnumbered there. Yeah, if you can kind of zoom in, there's a bunch of little fighters fighting. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
We stand ready.
Okay, so it looks like more Krogs. Honors coming up. There, so I'm gonna scout with one of these. So basically, they have the scanner ability. Only escorts get that. It's kind of weird. You think the other ships would have the scanner like that, but whatever. It's kind of like a balance in the game. Makes them ships very useful to have.
Moving to those coordinates.
So things are doing work. So my Chaos ships are firing at this at a long range. They've got really powerful shields, so it's going to take a little bit. I don't put these guys. So basically, these guys will move now. So that's probably a Nova cannon or something.
Enemy ship sighted.
So this is yeah, that's what this ship does. It looks like it killed escort ship. Yeah. So it killed a little escort ship in one shot. That's not that big of a deal. Alright. So yeah, the escort ships, so some of the enemy's escort ships are going to be revealed and they're just going to get mowed down. But that's not that big of a deal for the opponents.
Enemy ship sighted.
So yeah, basically this thing does a lot of damage from very far away. And that's just kind of what we want to do. So look, this ship's getting heavy focus fire, and that's what we want to do because this ship's super scary. So I'm going to send some spotter squadrons after it.
That's the War Master wills.
And then these ships are just going to kind of move out. So I can repair. They've taken some damage somewhere. And then they also have this encourage ability to help like increase your morale. So I can do that, and then some of the morale that was down is going to go back up. Another escort ship got melted. So this thing's taking a lot of damage, which is good. That ship's really hard to kill. My escort ships are just sitting here. So I'm just going to do this. Real any ships, now I'm just going to put them on the auto fire thing. They'll sit there stealth. They might get picked off, but nope. They're kind of doing it. You see as all these ships are going this way, it's kind of what Chaos does. They're kind of just in the fire line, just harassing the enemy. So this ship's close enough you can do a boarding action, so I can do that there. It's going to take a bunch of counter board or boarding. So basically now there's troops, there's enemy troops in here fighting out against my troops. And I've got my troop step there. I'm losing troops against that. I sent a little bit back at them, but I'm not going to be able to inflict nearly what they are doing. So you can see there that did almost half that ship's health in one shot. So that's why this one's absurdly powerful. I kind of just want to keep this near here. This is kind of where maneuverability is nice, so I can do this and adjust real fast. And basically, I want to fire these torpedoes about there, so now they'll come out and it should go around there. Alright, so it looks like my group here. So there's a lot of stuff going on, so it's just going to be kind of, my ships. Kind of nice thing is the AI will kind of control them. So this ship's morale's down, so it's just going to retreat now. Everyone's going to die in there because there's so many troop steps against it. I don't think Group 5's on Group 4. Yeah, it's on auto target. It's targeting that. Oh, that's unfortunate. So yeah, see that ship there? All that damage you just took. Alright, so I'm going to send another squadron bomber, or bombardment on them. So a nice thing about this is so they're just finished off that ship. Even though it looks like it's going through my ship, I can fire through my own ships with that, and that's nice. Alright, so it looks like my number 3 group's not doing too bad. My number 2 group looks like they kind of got in the mix there, and there's not a lot of them left, but that's okay. Something's got to take the damage. Alright, so it's firing at that. So there's a thing to note here. If they have a shield, this thing won't overkill the shield.
We must escape. We've lost the ship.
Yeah, I know we have. I can do a strike there. I just want to try to keep this ship near here to make this hard for my opponents to do anything about it.
Slaughter them.
Because yeah, it just does a lot of damage. It looks like Group 3. So yeah, this ship, unfortunately, all this crew's gonna die, and it's just gonna be. So my Group 2 is pretty much done for. I've got this one ship left over here, and they're getting outfired by a lot of stuff. But that's okay. My Group 3 is not doing too bad. I've got one ship that's done. They basically took too much damage and are routing out the field, but that's okay. So this ship here, now it's got this, I can scuttle it and basically blow it up since there's no one left there. My escorts are doing alright. So my opponents, so I've got my enemies surrounded now. They've got ships all over here and over here, so now they're in kind of a bad strait. So there we go, that will fire that. I'm gonna kind of, so this ship needs repaired. So it looks like so if you look at the ship here, the command is right there, but it's permanently damaged, so basically I can't ever give any more stances now on this. So that's unfortunate. And it looks like the engine's critically damaged too, so that sucks. This is where immune to criticals is really nice, because that can't happen. So I'm just going to move this thing up a little bit so it draws a lot more fire, as long as I keep doing this on that. So it looks like their generator's critically damaged because their shield isn't coming back, where I still have a shield on this. I'm going to fire some torpedoes. So basically, all the little bombers, so they went there, did a bunch of damage. This ship's super tanky too. So now we can do a boarding action there, and basically we're gonna fire a bunch of little pods over there. So our shield's back up there. It's gonna go down pretty fast because we're really close here. Now they're just gonna, inflict a little bit of extra damage to our opponent. So, oh yeah, look at that damage, is disgusting. Looks like Group 2 is just that. There's another ship somewhere, so Group 3 isn't doing too bad. I'm gonna send some bomber squadrons out on this guy here. So they're gonna come from them two ships and move together. So this ship's now taking a bunch of damage because it's getting kind of ran down. So this has boarding action too, so I'm gonna send a bunch of boarding torpedoes there. Its shield it hasn't been taking a lot of damage, so that's okay. So I am gonna rally with this just to keep that thing's morale. This thing can't break. That's kinda nice. So now I've got a couple little ships real close here, so I could consider moving away from it. But it's okay. Yeah, so that's the thing, that shield tanks this whole laser here. Somehow this ship is alive after getting incinerated that close, but that's... So I actually just rammed into it and blew it up, because this ship's so much bigger and has so much more mass. So I can use this, so this is the overcharged void shield, so basically now my shield's immune to damage. Their Titan ship's about to... It's not doing so well, so I'm actually... I want to finish it off. So I can repair something, but yeah. Deck critically damaged, and generators critically damaged, engine critically damaged. Some weapons are critically damaged. Like, this ship is taking a beating. So there you go, that's all the little burst damage from there. So we're kind of just execute. So they're crit for 800. The ship's hull is only 1200, so you can see that's a lot of damage. So this ship's blowing up there. So big explosion there. That was one of the biggest ships in the game that just got down. So this ship here is about done though, because it's only got 26 troops left, and it's got 19 troop steps or attacked against it. But it looks like my chaos. So my Group 3 got in a really good position, where my Group 2 kind of just tanked the brunt of the enemy's assault here. So I'll keep using this. I'll keep these guys around for whatever I can. Looks like I can do another boarding action, so that's kind of nice. So I want to reposition this over here, because I don't need this over here anymore. So basically there's going to be this giant warp portal opens up, and this is how these ships navigate. They go through the warp. But this should look pretty cool.
We've lost an escort craft.
Nah, it doesn't matter. Just escorts. So basically it goes through a portal there, and then it comes out over here. Now the ship's here. So that ability's really powerful with a ship that has really poor mobility. Oops. There's something a little buggy going on. Okay. Well, that was weird. It's kind of glitching out there. There's a ship like stuck inside of it. There might have been something with warp rep. So this ship's completely out of troops now, so it's just there and doesn't have anything left. Of all of the Empire killed all the... So even though it was, it only showed like 46, there's hundreds of thousands of people, or demons and chaos troops on this ship, and every last one was killed. So now this ship's just sitting there taking bombardments, even though it's no longer functioning. But this thing has been badly damaged. It looks like group 2. So we definitely have taken losses here. We definitely got some less. So I'm gonna move this way with it. I'm gonna focus fire. Actually, I'm just gonna I gotta keep concentric fire on something. Repair that. So group 2, they're doing alright, so I'm just going to send that so they can help kill that off a little bit faster. Something needs repaired, so I'm just going to do it. So I'm taking some damage here, but that's okay. This ship's really tough to take down. Yeah. At the rate I'm doing damage to finishing off what's left of the enemies, or the fleet here of the Empire, it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of a cleanup operation. When this thing blows up, it looks really cool though. It's like a big purple explosion. You can kind of get a... You know, you're just sitting there having a good day and then you see that come towards you, you're like, huh. Yeah, that's some crazy particle effects. This is probably the coolest ship in the game, or at least my favorite just as far as like visuals go. Like, it's really unique in what it looks like and stuff. Shields there absorbing some fire.
Show us our victims.
Looks like group 3 cleaned up that ship, so there's just this one little ship left over here. So this ship about blew up. As long as this ship never dies, it'll be alright because, you know, even though this is a campaign, but I would have it for the next mission. It will repair it. It will take a long time, but you know, you've got whole galaxies doing that. So it looks like what's left of the enemy's navy here is trying to surround my flagship. So I can use this overcharged voice shield to just kind of... So now I shouldn't be taking a lot of damage for a little bit. My shield's recharged, so that's really nice. Do a boring action. This ship actually only has 3 troops left, so this should actually just completely knock that out. And then there you go. That so juicy. Yeah, it looks like pretty much what's left of the enemy's fleet is rallied to try to deal with this flagship here. So that's what happened. They went to 0 troops, but then they took 1 troop from here and got enough troops to make this thing barely functioning. So if you kind of look here, so basically minus 20% the skill, weapon, combustion, reload rate. So the idea is, since there's so little troops on it, that it's hard to man the whole ship, because there is. All right, so it looks like we're taking some decent damage on this, but that's okay. There's not a lot of ships left. With what I have left with my navy here, so now I can do this, and now the ship's active again. Put some troops on it, so now they're active again. Even though the ship's badly damaged and whatnot, I have access to it firing again and stuff, so I can take the bunch of flight decks it has and send them off and do a bombardment round against that. Now it looks like there's a hidden battleship there, actually. That's one of the more significant ships. So it's just gonna fire at that. It moves really slow now because everything's like, you know, that ship is somehow is barely functioning. So you see every time a ship blows up, their little morale gauge there goes away.
Setting course. Enemy ship sighted.
So the bombardment round game did some damage to this another battleship.
We stand ready.
That should the shield recharged just in time. I was like, that should have finished that off, but that's alright. Activate that void shield again. So that's what's nice about the void shield. It just gives you a little bit of extra, you know, tankiness for this thing's all.
We stand ready.
Have any escort? No, all my escorts died. So I've got to... The AI's being cheeky here, so I've got to do something where I get close to this and reveal it. The battleship blew up there, had a decent explosion. It looks like they've got a ship there with functionally no health. I'll do a boarding action against that one. That one's going to be around a little bit longer. And I'll fire at that one too because this thing's shield is up. So that's revealed, so now I can do boarding action and do some damage to it. Looks like its troops also got wiped out because it's only got 3 troop steps, so that should knock out what's left of the troops and make it a drifting hulk. Also chaos, you know, are sadistic people. Some chaos over here firing. So yeah, now it's a drifting hulk, so now the ship no longer functions. They need to pull a ship over there and board it with something. So yeah, this ship, it served its purpose. It got its value out of its tanking. It took that much damage, so it took a lot of damage. And this ship here, it's getting down there. That's only got 468 hull points left. But it's definitely more than paid for itself and what it's killed. You've seen this thing just absolutely destroy ships. Like, look at all the debris left over from ships that's blown up on both sides.
Reporting.
So I can just make these guys on reload so they'll move in a little bit closer and just fire faster to clean up whatever's left.
Reporting.
At this point, it's just kind of clean up now. And so it looks like there's a ship. Okay, there we go. Got it. That might have been the last ship. Yep. And there we go. So yeah, that's just kind of a little rundown of Battlefleet Gothic Armada. There's like a campaign. I don't know if I'll put the time into like recording a campaign on this or not. Because this is like, you know, you're not going to be seeing those kind of battles and stuff all the time. It's kind of, you know, like your campaigns. Like it starts off slow. It takes a long time to get to those points. I don't ever know if you actually get Titans. I think you do at some point. But you're not going to be seeing, you know, big ships like that fighting each other anytime soon. So I figured, you know, just doing the custom battles where you can just get to that right away is kind of the more appealing point to watch. So yeah, that's just going to be the end of this for this episode. Another hour-long video, but you know, I don't mind doing it. So yeah, thanks everyone so much for watching, and bye-bye.